All right, we'll return to the open meeting under item 5, and we will hand it off to Ms. Koenig for introduction of our new hires.
Good evening, board. Welcome back. We're so excited to be here, and we're so excited to introduce some of our new hires tonight. First of all, I'm going to ask Megan Rollins to come up. She's going to introduce, she has 2 new hires, and we always introduce our new hires at our board meeting, our professional new hires, and we want to give them a couple of things from Lovejoy ISD. One thing that we're going to give them is an apple, caramel apple, because it symbolizes the highly valued role that an educator has in the lives of students. And also a pen, because they're going to be writing their next chapter here. And as that orientation, if y'all were here, I'm like, that was their first orientation that they're ever going to, because they're staying. So Ms. Rollins, you want to start there?
Yes, absolutely. Good evening. So I would like to introduce Jessica Blackburn as the new assistant principal at Sloan Creek Intermediate. Jessica is an SMU graduate with a bachelor's in history and a minor in education. She has taught for 7 years, and then for 5 years, she was an administrator in Frisco. Her husband is the head boys soccer coach at Prosper High School. She has 2 sons, Leo and Logan, and a daughter named Emily. And we are so excited and privileged to have Miss Blackburn with us at Sloan.
Thank you. You can just stay right there.
Next up, I'd like to introduce Rachel Brenner. She is the new library media specialist at Sloan Creek. She is excited to be joining us in her 18th year in education. She lives in Allen with her husband Kyle and their 14-year-old son Keegan. She loves traveling and reading, and currently is reading a couple of books about school librarianship. So thank you both for being here. I'm so excited to welcome these 2 to the Sloan Creek staff.
We're going to make them stay. And now yes. And then we're going to ask Ms. Elridge, would you like to come up and introduce your new staff member from Willow Springs?
Good evening. It is my honor to introduce Ms. Taylor Reeder, Assistant Principal at Willow Springs Middle School. Ms. Reeder has been in the education field for 10 years, serving most recently as a special education case manager and head golf coach in Prosper ISD. We welcome her passion and advocacy for learners with unique needs. Her children, Madison and Tucker, are also thrilled to become Lovejoy Leopards at LCDC and Hart.
Welcome, Taylor. Dr. Zambezi?
All right, we have one new leopard at the high school, and she is a fantastic educator. I've known her work for over a decade now. And so I would like to introduce Miss Holly Green, our new high school librarian and lead librarian. Holly went to Texas A&M University, and she taught for a number of years. And then she has most recently been at Isbell Elementary as a librarian, and then most recently at Lawler Middle School in Frisco ISD. And so she's coming to us at the high school, and we could not be more excited to have her.
That's all that's going to be here tonight. Molly Probe is our new behavior specialist. She had to get, because she had her dog in doggy daycare, and she had to pick her up by 7. So we're going to give her apple to her, but just so that you're aware. But we wanted to welcome her too. So thank you all, and we're going to get a picture. Come on, Caitlin, Megan. Thank you, guys.
So much for that, and welcome aboard again, everybody. Item 6 is public comments related to July 24th, 2023 agenda items.
No comments.
No comments this evening. Item 7, board notifications. Those are in your package. Notifications of new hires and resignations. Item 8 is our consent agenda. Does anybody want anything pulled under the consent agenda this evening? If not, I'd consider a motion.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
So move, Mr. Bobo. Second, Mr. James. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item 9, consider an act on the 23-24 Student Code of Conduct. Mr. Parker.
Sorry about that. I was having trouble finding it. Good evening and welcome back, everybody. Glad to get this new school year underway and going. As you know, every year we are required for you to consider and act upon the newest version of our Student Code of Conduct. And this year, during a legislative year, you'll know that our legislature makes a lot of adjustments and changes to our Student Code of Conduct. So these were shared with you for your review, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. But just to highlight a few things in our legislative session in Austin over the past few months, really these were the 4 bills that have made the biggest impact for our Student Code of Conduct. The first one, House Bill 114, made some adjustments and a big addition in that it is a mandatory DAEP placement for any student who is caught with a vape pen e-cigarette, if you will, within 300 feet of school property. House Bill 3928, if a student is placed on NDAEP, we must make parents aware of the process if they would like to explore a full individual evaluation or initial evaluation for their student to be considered for special education services. Senate Bill 37, adjust hazing to now, instead of making it mandatory for a parent or someone to report hazing in writing, they can do it verbally. It doesn't have to be in writing. And then House Bill 1427 expands the harassment under Penal Code 4207 to include harassment using electronic communications, including temporary or disposable phone numbers, aka burner phones. So those are the 4 big ones that, like I said, really impacted our Student Code of Conduct. But other than that, we would ask that you consider and take possible action to approve our Student Code of Conduct for the 23-24 school year.
Board, any questions for any questions for Mr. Parker? If not, we consider a motion to approve the Student Code of Conduct for 23-24.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 Student Code of Conduct.
So move, Mark Wheelis. Second, Jeff Wood. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item 10, consider and take possible action to approve a resolution declaring a good cause exemption under House Bill 3 regarding armed security officers on each district campus. Mr. Percival.
Good evening, President Owens, Superintendent Cordell, and Board of Trustees. Grab this mouse and see if I can. I do apologize.
While he's pulling that up, we have the resolution in front of us at the 4 items.
I don't need to look at it on the screen. If you guys are good, I'm good. Okay. So the Texas legislature enrolled House Bill 3, which requires a minimum of 1 armed security officer during school hours at each district campus, including a school district peace officer, a school resource officer, or an armed commissioned peace officer employed as a security personnel under section 37.081 of the Texas Education Code. Texas Education Code allows the district to declare a good cause exemption if the district is not able to comply with the requirement for a security officer due to the availability of funding or personnel who qualify to serve as a security officer. Lovejoy ISD maintains a robust school marshal program served by a combination of active and/or retired peace officers and other personnel. Additionally, the school district will be adding a 7th school marshal for the upcoming school year. It's the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approves the resolution for good cause exemption from House Bill 3.
Board questions for Mr. Percival?
It's been a month or so. So just basically, so everyone's aware, we operate with the school marshal program. Nothing is changing there. And in fact, we're adding a 7th. So we're going to have more than one. Well, we're going to have one at every campus plus an additional maybe at another campus. So nothing changes from our security program. This is just, we're staying within our program as it exists today and not converting to a police force or hiring of commissioned peace officers to do the work that our school marshals already do. Correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. It's probably worth commenting too that this is a new mandate that our district was already forward thinking in, and so already ahead of the curve and prepared. So we're super grateful for that. So grateful for our marshals who are phenomenal. And so we're not compromising anything with this resolution. We're just holding tight to what is working so well in our district, and we're super grateful.
Kyle, we have other districts reaching out to us to see how we're doing our program because there are other districts trying to implement what we're already doing.
Absolutely. I know we've had several different districts in North Texas that have reached out specifically to our Director of Safety and Security, Casey Littlefield. Word travels quickly, and our Marshall program, I believe President Owens has said it well, is second to none. And we stand behind that and are blessed to have the opportunity to add to an already robust program with bringing on that 7th Marshal.
So with this resolution, is there anything else that the state could come back and say we're not complying with the current new regulations and legislation that was recently passed, or is this resolution then fulfill all of our obligations on that?
That's a great question. So as the bill is written today, we would meet every obligation that's intended. They specifically designate and call out the school marshal program within HB3. But in order for us to comply with that, we've got to do what we're doing tonight, and that is ask you guys to approve a resolution that claims good cause exception.
I'll make a motion to declare a good cause exemption under House Bill 3 regarding armed security officer on each district campus.
Second.
So moved, Mr. Wheelis, second, Mr. Bobo. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right, item 11 is our 23-24 board activity calendar. And this is a preliminary notification item. It's just a draft for each of you to review. You've had it in your board packages and published online. Works through each month and gives you an outline of some of the topics that we'll be handling as we work through the school year. So, Roderick, anything to add to that?
Just one update, if I could. A board member did point out to me there was 2 mistakes found in May. I listed something twice, and then also we had a misspelling on one. So I did update that for the public and also in your board books.
Board, any comments about this? It's just a high-level overview of what our board will be doing and a way to give information to the public. Perfect. All right. Item 12, another discussion item, Board Legislative Subcommittee update. Are there any updates this evening?
We do. So I believe our last update was at our June workshop. The 88th legislative session ended at the end of May. The governor immediately called a special session to focus on property taxes and border issues. The House and the Senate were deadlocked that entire time, and the first session ended at the end of June with no bills passed. The governor immediately called a second special session to focus on property tax reform, which they did make progress on, both from a rate compression perspective and an increase in the homeowners exemption. But for public schools, we've discussed here during these updates prior that there has been no meaningful legislation passed for student funding, for teacher raises, to address inflation, or any other significant support for public schools. The governor has indicated that he will call additional special sessions for education. Likely will be a specific focus on school choice, also known as education savings accounts or vouchers. So until that point in time, we are in a holding pattern and must continue to budget and plan based on the basic allotment for students at only $61.60. But in other news, we wanted to highlight that the House Speaker formed a new committee mid-June titled the House Select Committee on Educational Opportunity and Enrichment. And he appointed the 15 lawmakers to the committee. I think their photos are right there, lovely. The committee was asked to make a recommendation on three things. First, to ensure that all Texas school children have equal educational opportunity and the freedom to obtain a quality education, regardless of circumstance. Second, to improve the outcomes for public school students while meaningfully supporting educators and educational institutions. And number three, to modernize the assessment and accountability measures. So I would say a broad scope. This committee met on July 11th and 12th to discuss a big range of topics from assessment and accountability to the viability of the taxpayer-funded private school vouchers. They listened to more than 17 hours of testimony. All of it was invited testimony. And one thing that struck me was the wide range of topics that were considered. Each of those topics are incredibly dense and complex. It could be potentially a concern that each of these very important topics be given a thorough review. As of now, those July meetings were slated to be the only meetings for this committee to consider before they produce a report of recommendations to the Texas House in August. So a key takeaway might be that although there is not much going on right now with regard to actual progress or laws, these activities by the House and by this committee will certainly lay a foundation for changes that are very likely to come down in the future. Updates? Committee members?
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, I think it's been telegraphed that we think the next special session dealing with education might be early September is what we're thinking. So if that's the time frame where we'll probably have more details in the next call to action. It's a busy time of year, obviously, with back to school, and there'll be a lot of distractions. So we'll just have to be ready for that.
Any others? Thank you very much. Next is item 13, it's presentation, Lovejoy ISD Health Advisory Council and annual report for 22-23.
Good evening. Is this on? There it is. Okay. We are required by Texas Education Code 28.004 to provide an annual report of the Student Health Advisory Council, better known as SHAC. So I'm here to present our report for the 22-23 school year. And this is part of our board policy BDF legal and EHAA legal. We are required to provide an annual written report that defines the SHAC and its duties, summarizes the state legislative requirements of SHAC, we include the list of the meeting dates that we held during the 22-23 school year, and identify our goals, activities, accomplishments, and recommendations. So what is SHAC? It's a school board appointed advisory group of individuals who represent various aspects of the community. A majority of the members must be persons who are parents of students enrolled in the district and are not employed by the district. SHAC is made up of parents, community members, students, and school staff working together to improve the overall health programming through our schools. So some of the overriding responsibilities and a lot of work that we did during the 22-23 school year is that SHAC looks at the curriculum that we're using for specific grade levels in certain areas of health, such as preventing obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes. We coordinate with our physical education programming, nutrition services, parent involvement, and prevention of tobacco use. And then we look at how we're integrating this into our curriculum. So it's a coordination with the C&I department and our school health program as well. So these are the dates that the committee met. We are not required to meet the number. I believe it's 3 required meetings a year, but with some of the content that we were covering during the 22-23 school year, we felt like it was necessary to add additional meetings. So when we look at our goals here in Lovejoy ISD, goal 1 is health and physical education, staff, community, and children. We look for ways to assist our staff, students, and community on establishing healthy habits and routines. We look at our school health communication for ways to increase and make people aware of overall health and wellness, and then also including our social emotional wellness that goes into this as well. So accomplishments of 22-23, we adopted a new health texts that are going into effect, actually went into effect last year. And so the committee looked at where those texts would be taught. So they have the authority to make recommendations to the board, which we brought to you on the grade levels that those would be taught and the time of the year that those would be taught. That ties into the vertical alignment for grades 4 through 8 because that's where we are required to teach that the text. Also, we did some work on bringing forward to the committee a Signs of Suicide program that we implemented for our middle school and high school students. We also brought forth and discussed currently Lovejoy ISD requires health as a graduation requirement, and it was recommended to continue with that. And then just looking at our overall fitness and physical education planning. And then at the end of the year, we brought forward a new program that we're going to be talking about in just a minute, Zello, which is a college and career planning program that we have brought forward. So any questions about the work that we did? We will be presenting, there is a report attached to the presentation that we will be posting on our website, on our webpage about the Student Health Advisory Committee.
Very much. Item 14 is Lovejoy High School Counseling Program Update. Dr. Tinsley.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Stephanie Krantz, our Director of Student Support, to come forward, Carrie Robbins, our lead counselor at Lovejoy High School, and our Lovejoy High School principal, Dr. Travis Ambasi. We have some exciting news to share with you about some programming that we've updated with our counseling department at the high school. Stephanie's going to start off with talking about the Texas counseling model that we are required to follow. Not just with our high school programming, but kindergarten through 12th grade. Travis is then going to also then talk about kind of some of the realignment with positions and responsibilities within the department. And then Carrie's going to talk about some of the specific responsibilities of the team that she supports. And then we're going to wrap up with a little bit more information about Zello.
Good evening, board. Thank you for the opportunity to present this information to you. We're really excited about some of these changes. And really they are a result of when we look at our counseling mission, it's to propel students to personal excellence by equipping them with academic, emotional, and social skills to unlock their full potential. So our role is to support the mission of the district. So when you look at the Texas model for comprehensive school counseling program, there's 4 pillars within that model. And so you're going to have guidance instruction, and this is going to be what we call tier 1 that we want all students to have. It's on the proactive side. We're trying to give students those proactive skills so that we don't have to intervene on the other side. Then you're also going to have individual planning. This is another pillar of the model, and this is our academic advising and working with individual students and families on their high school graduation plan and what the pathway forward for that child might be when we look at post-secondary planning as well. The third pillar you've got is responsive services. So these are going to be, we're responding to students in need. In the moment in time, these aren't planned, they happen. We have a student in crisis, so our counselors have to step in and take action to intervene and get students the help that they need, and our families the help that they might need as well, and a way to get resources. And then the fourth pillar that you have of the Texas model is system support, because it recognizes that school counseling is a part of the entire system, and they have to collaborate with administrators and teachers and other individuals and just be a support around individuals knowing, oh, this student needs a little help here, support. So that's going to be the 4 pillars of the Texas model. And so we are working to implement this. This is a picture of kind of the framework that the Guidance and Counseling Department has been working on. And the state's really given us some recent legislation around this, and they're telling us that school counselors need to spend 80% of their time on these duties. So they're really trying to reframe the role of the school counselor, recognizing that you can have some non-counseling duties that systems might need support, but that should be about 20%, no more than 20% of a counselor's time. So these are just some examples of those domains and what you might find underneath those. So this is our framework for guidance and counseling here in Lovejoy. So when we think about implementing this model, and particularly when we think about implementing the model K-12, but also at the high school and the needs of our community and why we're here, it's kids come first. And so when we analyzed kind of where we were at, we felt like it was important that we had a couple of gap areas that were needs in our community that we wanted to beef up, if that makes sense, and just to help increase the support around kids coming first. So that is kind of the why behind some of the restructuring and the changes that Dr. Zambezi is going to talk about that we are implementing at Lovejoy High School.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so what we did was make some flow charts here to be able to take you through the counseling specific restructure. And then after this, there's a little slide that will really tie it all together. We've been doing a lot of work on professional learning communities, and one of the key concepts of that is being able to be a systems thinker. And within that, part of our jobs as whether we're cabinet members or campus principals is to think about how are we going to work in order to put the best products on the table for our students. And so that's really what the heart of this restructure is. And I'll take you through that now. So again, to go in and to look at 2022, a lot of new at the high school. What we came in with was Miss Robbins up there, the lead counselor. And you'll notice that she had 1/3 of an alpha, which is about 1/3 of 1650, right? So 550 is really what our counselor assistant principal teams are doing. And so she was the lead counselor while also taking an alpha. Meanwhile, Ms. Thrash was our CCMR and 504 facilitator. So she's going to be in charge of 250 plus 504 students, and then about 1/3 of those actual annual 504s, as well as her CCMR duties. And then with Ms. Coonrod and Ms. Fletcher, the other 1/3 of the alpha, which came along with obviously all the things of being a high school counselor, which is a lot. And so now if you shift to 2023, 2024, Ms. Robbins will be the lead counselor again. However, she will be, I would say, more mentoring our 5th counselor, who is, so Curtis is new, and so he's our 5th counselor. And on that bottom right corner, She will be taking a small percentage of that alpha, but doing a lot of mentoring to him to make sure he's onboarded well. And then Miss Coonrod and Miss and Fletcher will be our two counselors. And then a pretty big shift here. And so pay attention to these next two slides, because this is where a lot of the change and really where a lot of the, oh, sorry.
Okay.
There we go. All right. And now to the finale for this slide. So 504 testing facilitator is going to be a newly created position. We can go into the how that happened and things like that if you have questions after this. But in the front office down by the assistant principals, we now have another position, 504 testing facilitator. That'll be all the 504s that Ms. Thrash used to do, plus all EOC state testing. Think your 5 EOC tests, right? Meanwhile, instead, we always had this, I noticed last year we had this gap, and it was like, well, who's kind of with dual credit? Who's doing AP testing? Who's with Bree Smith and doing GT and College Board stuff? And I was like, well, the emails are coming to me, so let's figure out kind of how we're going to do this the right way. So we got through it last year, and everything went fine. However, back to that systems process, our CCMR will now be doing our college, career, and military readiness type things. She'll be a big contact for people like Collin College, for people like partnerships, scholarships, etc. And then there's this other really big half of testing at the high school, right? And I've seen some of you help us in our gyms. The AP testing is huge, right? And so you have weeks of that going on. So AP, College Board, and some of the things that lend itself is what's going to be covered by Ms. Thrash now. So she'll take AP testing. Okay, next slide. Thank you so much. All right, and here's how it all kind of comes together. We were talking about webs and systems. And so, as you can see from left to right there, our campus principal, our associate principal and lead counselor, and then we started this last year, but now we've even taken another step. Each assistant principal and counselor has 1/3 of the alpha, and they share that alpha, and they really support that family and that student in a number of areas. And now really what we've done is equal it out with the 504 testing facilitator at the end, and then on the bottom right there, the CCMR that we talked about. But everything lines up now, and really nothing falls through the cracks, and we can provide a better experience for our kids and families. Thank you.
Thank y'all for having me here this evening. This is our counseling team, and in addition to myself, Melissa Fletcher and Natalie Coonrod are on the front row, and then Sarah Thrash and our new registrar, Marissa Davis. Many of you probably have known Marissa from being at the front, so we're super excited to have her. And then Urella's Fluharty is our new admin assistant in the counseling office, so we're excited to have her. And then Curtis McCarthy is our new counselor. Again, the whole purpose is that I will help mentor him and help him in his alpha at the beginning. And it was really important when we started talking about this that we have some consistency for our families and try to keep our alpha splits as consistent as possible from year to year. We know that means one might have a little bit more than the other or whatever, but it's really important to us to just, get to know our families and be there to support them through that. So this is your counseling team at the high school this year. And this is a little bit more detail of some of the things that I will be leading the department in all aspects, and working hand in hand with Mr. Montague as the associate principal and Dr. Zambezi. And then each counselor in their alpha split, they're responsible for, of course, their graduation plans, their credits, course selections. We very much operate as a team. We meet every week and we come to the table and discuss the things that are, coming ahead and what we need to plan for. But we very much work as a group, and we support each other through that, and we also make our decisions together. And so each counselor, you can see there, we're hoping now that we're able to get into some PLC meetings this year. The expectation is that we attend all junior special education ARD meetings and as many 504 meetings as possible, but that junior one is especially critical. We have added one-to-one meetings for our junior class. So we met with every family last year to discuss multiple things from college planning. And our goal this year is to do the same thing for our ninth graders. And so we'll focus on juniors in the fall, and then pick up our freshmen in the spring. Very time consuming, but so worth it to have them there, and it allows us to bring families into the school who may never come to the school, and bring our students into the guidance office that, might not ever visit if we don't have them there. And then we're talking, Dr. Zambezi talked about Sarah Thrash, and she's going to be helping with our call in college. That's huge for us. We have not had a call in college counselor for 2 years now. And Natalie Coonrod has taken most of that upon herself, spent many, many, many hours doing that. So we're super excited we do have one now. And so Sarah's going to be partnering with her and helping with the dual credit registration process. So we just personally, I'm just going to speak for the team, that we thank y'all for your continued support of us and everything y'all do for us as a team. Thank you.
Before I jump into Zello, I'm going to brag on this team at Lovejoy High School, because they've really tackled the challenge, and really lots of people in Central, but they've implemented some really valuable things. I think the one-on-one meetings, and they've made a commitment to that. And I think they are so important to our families and our student experiences. So I just really appreciate the hard work that they're doing every day with our students and families. So, so kudos. Then the last thing I wanted to talk about was another area that we are implementing to help assist with college and career readiness. We have been using Naviance as our platform, and really we've essentially used Naviance for transcript requests, some pretty basic functions. Parents did not have an eyesight into Naviance of what was happening, and we actually had the opportunity through our Region 10 Shared Service Agreement at no additional cost to the district to jump on board the use of Zello, which is an extremely powerful college and career readiness platform. So there are interest surveys in there, but there is exploring colleges, majors, careers. It is the user functionality is just pretty incredible in it. And so we are jumping on board. And the other thing is, and so I'll kind of talk about why Zello. It's cost neutral. It has a family interface so that our parents can see the lessons. It is completely transparent. Parents can see the lessons. They can see what students are choosing within that platform. So I really love that transparency and that family interface, because it gives families the opportunity to have discussions and use this platform to assist with that. It's a K-12 program, whereas Naviance we were truly using at the high school. So this program gives us the ability to start these conversations earlier, and it not to be a high school thing, really to have that vertical piece of, talking with students about what are you interested in? What are your thoughts about college and career? And you're not supposed to have it figured out, but do you have any thinking about it, and capture that? It has common app integration, which is really important for our seniors who are applying. So it integrates with common app. It has transcript requests, all of those features. So just a couple of things about the features within Zello. So they use Peterson's. I'm going to age myself here. We used to get the Peterson's college book, and it had all the data in it, and you would go get it. Well, Peterson's is now just a database that Zello licensed with. And so all the data from Peterson's is what is being populated within the Zello app. So it's has application deadlines, all the requirements for colleges. And then it has Department of Labor is their data source for the careers and the salary information in there. It has majors. It does have the capability to do course planning and personal graduation plans. So those are things down the road with that interface that we can look to do. That's going to be a more friendly user interface for our families to see their students' personal graduation plan and do some course selection within that program. So those are kind of the why behind the move to Zello. So this is a picture of my Zello account. So we've sent invitations to parents. We'll get into a process of resending some communication and allowing parents to accept that invite. So it will link your student to you. And just a couple of things. So my son's Wyatt, you can click on him. It would show all of your students on there, but you also have access to a demo account. And this is where you can see all the other features within the program. So I just kind of wanted to give a quick overview of those. So this is what it would look like as you land in your family account as a parent. Okay. And then just a couple of examples. You can see it's got Matchmaker Learning Style Skill Labs. It does have a resume builder. So it captures information over time that students put in. If they got jobs and volunteer work, they can add information into this program. And then when they go to do their resume, it will actually pull that information and they get to pick and choose what information they want on that resume. It has some resume building courses, quick courses just to go over what is a resume. So these are just some of the features that you can see within Zello. I think I have one more that just, so that is, we are super excited about the opportunity that Zello provides our students and our families. And we look forward to really implementing it and making sure our families can take full advantage of it. Are there any questions?
No, thank you for the emphasis on the counseling program, adding the additional resources and revamping things. It was something that we were looking forward to and we appreciate. I know our families will too. So thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to echo the great work that the team's been doing. They've been a lot of brainstorming, problem solving, and been going on for a while, but we're there, and I think we're super excited about the year and what this can offer to our students and our families too. So thank you.
Would love to hear maybe through the year, mid-year, quarterly or something, an update on how the counseling's going, and would love to hear about that. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I do have one question. I get lots of questions about the timing of different things when it comes to transcripts and other data being released and all. Do you anticipate some of those processes and timelines changing with this new restructure? Can you speak to that maybe for just a second?
I think the processes will get a little bit cleaner. That is some of the work that we're doing. I know, do you want to come talk about some of that? Because I know.
Yeah, sure, thanks. So one of the, right now, is transcript release, right? That's our seniors. And so Ms. Thrash we've already had 2 senior parent meetings. We have one more tomorrow night. And so in the process of those meetings, we're explaining to the students how to use Zello. We've already sent the information out. One of the things that we ran into a little bit last year is literally when we came back with some applications opening in early July, it was semi-transcript. There are multiple things that have to go on behind the scenes before those transcripts are 100% accurate. And so in that process, they're not always ready immediately when we come back. And so I know Dr. Zambezi and I talked a little bit about this last year, and we contacted some districts in the area about, when do you send transcripts? What is your start time and all that? And so, and we knew we were going to be, looking to move over to this new platform. So we've set September 1 as when our start time to send transcripts. Students can still submit their applications, and it still documents it that when they got it in. So I know a lot of them are concerned about rolling admissions and being first come, first serve. And so we're walking them through those things. A lot of it's just unknown, and a lot of it's fear, and maybe it's their first time through, right? And of course they're anxious and they want to make sure they get to where they're going. But so this is the first time that we've set a deadline as far as September 1 being the first day that we will start sending those out. Right now, one of the things we have to update is our school profile. And so that's working on that this week, and then we'll get it sent to the manufacturer, and they will print those and get those updated, because that is a part of the transcript as well. So it is new, and so I think just with anything new, it's just explaining to them that you're still, as long as you submit your application, you get everything there. I think some of the confusion is they think everything has to go on the same day, their application, their test scores, everything. So we're just trying to educate them on that and reassure them that we will make sure it gets there. So.
Can the transcripts be automatically uploaded into Zello?
Yes. Yes, they have been actually already. Yeah. So, yeah. And so they're already there. And then once we get the school profile ready to go and ready, then we will make sure that everything gets ready to start sending out. So, yeah. Does that answer your
I do think over time, these programs are going to facilitate better processes.
Mhm.
And I think we're going to be able to have some documented definition to the processes so our parents better understand. Those are the things we're going to continue to work on.
Did that answer your question?
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Item 15, consider an act on board policy FFAC local.
Thank you. This is, I'm bringing forward an update, a recommendation to update FFAC local. I'm going to ask Stephanie Krantz to come back up to the podium in case you have any specific questions. One of the areas that Stephanie will be supporting will be our school. She has done quite a bit of work with SHAC, but also our school health and our nursing programming she'll start that for this year. So recently, with Senate Bill 369, school districts, it allowed school districts to have the Narcan on our campuses. So what the district is requesting that our policy reflect that to where we can have Narcan on our campuses to respond in case we had a student that was in a crisis with related to opioids. So I'm going to go quickly through this, and if you have any specific questions about how this may look in our with our nurses, and but this is just some overall information when it comes to the epidemic that we're all seeing throughout our not just in our community, but throughout multiple communities. And this just gives you some information with that and the impact. And of course, schools are in a position to where we're being impacted with this. So we just want to be prepared if we happen to have a student that did need us to respond or a staff member to respond. So this just really kind of talks about the medications, what it refers to, and the way that it's administered. And as you see, it's I believe, Stephanie, we're doing the nasal spray, not the injection is what we're recommending. So we have access where we can have this in our clinics for our nurses to use. And then the key points of the policy would be just an update. We will be doing some training. We have some regulations in place that we will be doing training with our nursing staff on of how this is being used and our staff overall. We'll do this with oversight of supplies, very much like we do with EpiPens or other preventative responsive medications. And then we will be following the guidelines for reporting use of this as well. So any questions that you might have about this policy update and revisions, there's a copy of the policy that we are recommending, the updates there in your folder. Correct.
Board questions?
Yes, I'm not sure exactly how to ask this question. So it looks like on the second part of the policy talks about the parents or legal guardians have the ability to annually complete the form that provides the emergency information. I'm just curious, I mean, this sounds reasonable. If you're in an emergency, you need to be able to take care of it. Where are the parents having the ability to say this is right for their child or be notified afterwards?
That's going to happen in Power School, so that emergency notifications, it's going to be very similar to the EpiPen notification. If you've been through your annual piece as a parent, there's the notification that we have unassigned epinephrine on campuses available in the event we need to use those for life-saving measures. And so that really is the threshold, is for life-saving measures. And so there will be notification within Power School for the use and the presence of unassigned opioid antagonist is how it's going to be referred to. And when we say we're going to be using naloxone, there's one other opioid antagonist. It has a brand name of Narcan. So if you're hearing those, naloxone and Narcan, they're one and the same. It's essentially the brand name for that medication. Did that answer your question?
So is everybody opted in, or you have to?
Really,
opt in to
everyone
hire
is,
school?
is opted in because we would only use these in the event of a life-saving measure. So we would, staff would need to be trained on the identification of potential opioid overdose. It's extremely safe medication. It was just recently approved as an over-the-counter medication by the FDA. So I think that's something that's important for everyone to understand. It's like with the epinephrine, you would never engage this measure if the risk is greater than the potential benefit. So this medication only attaches to opioids within the system. And so with the symptoms from, if let's say if someone were having a different event and it was misread as an opioid overdose, there's not a risk there for the administration of it. But there will also be, we have, just like with our epinephrine policy, we have regulations on where it's stored, who gets trained, those types of measures in place. And then we would have to report anytime it is used. Did that answer your question?
We need a motion to amend our policy to add this language.
I move that we amend our policy to include the language for the antagonist.
Second.
So move Marvin Bobo, second Mark Wheelis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item 16, consider an act on the TASB policy update 121. Ms. Taylor.
Good evening, board, and welcome back. Tonight we'll be hopefully requesting a motion to approve the TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 121. It's their next numbered update. And you should have that packet in your board books for further review and also for public view as well. As you know, legal updates are not adopted by the board, but they are informed to make local decisions, which we carefully reviewed each of these, and they do inform local policy. For those details of which policy actions that we're considering for your request approval. And if you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to help answer.
Any questions? You guys have had that in your board book to look at? If not, I consider a motion.
And in that packet, the comparison packet, it does detail each policy for y'all and strikes out what we're removing and adds in what we recommend adding.
So as I read through all these, it looks like it's putting a lot more responsibility on the superintendent in different areas. Any concerns?
I think that was already the case. They just decided to spell it out for everybody.
I move that we approve all these recommended updates to the policy.
So move. Mr. James, second. Ms. Smith, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 17 is cabinet reports.
We are getting ready for our staff all of our staff will be returning next Monday, the 31st, and we are looking forward to kicking off the week with our team Lovejoy once again. So I really just kind of want to provide you a schedule of what the week's going to look like. So all staff's going to return Monday morning. They'll be on their campuses, and then we will welcome our new teachers starting at lunch, and we'll have them over here at the LCDC gym to do some training with them for our new folks. Then on August the 1st, we're going to be over at Collin College Conference Center to do listen to a presentation on Yes We Can, and that is affiliated with the professional learning communities work that we've already been engaged with, and it's really looking at about how we look at all children, and all children start as general education students, and how do we support them. We felt like that was an area that we wanted to make sure we were all on the same page with. We had some of our staff members trained in this last spring and got great feedback from them, and felt like it would be beneficial for all staff to be engaged in this training. And then on the 2nd, we have a author coming in, Catherine Lewis, who has a book called The Good News About Bad Behavior. And it's really an approach of looking at how we help our children with just self-regulation and kind of self-management, and how we teach them that just like we would be teaching them through an academic, but you also do that through just behavioral as well. And also she's got some research she's going to be sharing on the impact in our world today of what technology has had on children, some of the neuroscience on this. So we're excited about the morning with her. And then we're going to have her over here in the afternoon to do a parent session that'll be free for our parents if they'd like to attend. And then in the afternoon, that afternoon campuses are going to be working on their campus student management plans. So parents should be getting more information out about that after school starts too, on what the expectations are as campuses are rolling that out. August the 3rd is going to be over at Lovejoy High School. We're going to be doing some curriculum updates with our staff. The 4th convocation will also be over at Lovejoy High School in the morning, and we'll have all the team members back for that. And then we will be returning to our campuses in the afternoon for the T-test training, which is the new teacher evaluation model that we're going to be implementing for this school year. Monday the 7th, we have all of our campus back to school events will be held throughout the day and in the evening, with the exception of Willow Springs. And the reason we adjusted that is because we have an opportunity for some professional development for that staff with Dr. Peter Noonan, who we've had here in the district before. Is going to be there on Monday, so we're going to kick that to Tuesday. And then on the 8th, campuses will be with their staff. And then the first day of school is August the 9th. And I just want to thank our principals and our department here, all of our departments that have been working the last several weeks on preparing for the return of our staff and our students. So a lot of hard work.
Good evening, President Owens, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Cordell. So finance update. We currently have already opened up the 23-24 budget and positions. So our department leads and campus leads are hitting the ground running and making purchases to get them ready for the new school year. The business service team is currently working hard to prepare for our summer audit. So our auditors will be on site officially to begin their audit on the week of August 28th through September 1st. The auditors did come in to do the pre-work and look at some things at the end of June, the last week before we went on break. So we do have a list of items that we are working on to wrap up for their visit on August 28th. When we look at our 2022 tax collections, so in the month of June, we did collect about $238,000 of taxes in the month of June, which leaves us with about $699,000 to collect for the 22 tax year. That is about 101% collection. So the original tax levy is certified in July of the 50 million, and then we do have some supplemental adjustments that we're still collecting on. So anything that we do collect in the month of July and August is recognized as revenue in the previous fiscal year, so in the 22-23 year, and then anything remaining from the 700 starting September would be considered delinquent revenue for the 23-24 school year. So that's all that I have. Any questions?
Okay, good evening. I am going to give you an enrollment update, kind of where we are right now. We're about 3 weeks out. Just wanted to share with you, we are continuing to enroll. I reported these on Thursday night, and you'll see some to you or before we post it on Thursday, and there are a few changes. One thing I wanted you to look at is if you look at Hart, currently we have 532. Last year for enrollment, 496 have completed the enrollment packet. The requested enrollment, what that means is that what we have parents that have moved in the district or they're planning on registering a child, they have an address that is in the district, and so they've requested a packet that it has not been completed, okay? So that's a total of 532. Just to think about, last year we ended the year with 589 students at Hart. So you can see a difference there of about 60 students. Also, if you look from total enrollment numbers from first grade, 81 we're now looking at kindergarten to 118 in first grade. So you can see, a little bit of a drop there in our numbers. Custer Elementary, we have currently 542 there. Last year we were about 612. So once again, about 60 off there. Also know, as we start talking about grade levels and teachers and those types of things, we are holding about 3 teaching positions still, looking at enrollment, as I had shared with you earlier. The great thing is we have 11 residents, and if y'all remember those teachers that are doing student teaching, some of them graduate in December, half of them, I think 6 graduate in December, and the other 5 graduate in May. So if we need to hire some or if the enrollment changes, we have some opportunity there, which will help with our teacher-student ratios, okay? Just wanted to remind you of that. Sloan Creek, we have 648 students currently enrolled. 661 was what we ended the year last year there. We have one resident there. Willow Springs, 709, and we ended the year about 744, so it's about 30 less there. And Lovejoy High School, we currently have 1632. We ended the year, I believe we ended it at 634, 1634 last year. So pretty good still there. And then of course, that's just the total 463 is what we've total once we add all those up. We're a little bit closer on packets actually, or only really about 48, 50 packets because we've gotten those in. So we would move those to the other column, but they're actual enrollment numbers. And our total student number actually increased by about 14, so we're at 477. So just over the weekend, it's just constant. We're getting requests for packets. We're also getting requests for Lovejoy Scholars. So we're getting those applications out, and that is also impacting that number. So if we look at our total numbers, what our last day of enrollment was, 42, 47, 50. Currently, like I said, we're about 4077. We projected 4105, so that's, about 30 off there where we were at 42 off. Lovejoy Scholars, we have 222 currently, and we've had some scholars that have moved out of the district or have asked for or have withdrawn from the district, and staff students about 174. We're still getting staff students. They come back next week and we're still getting enrollment there. Questions about enrollment?
I see that we're down, but how do we compare to last year in July?
Last year we ended up over the year enrolling about 50 more students. Okay, so if you think about that throughout the year, about 50 more students. Our projection, we really don't know till we come back in September. Those first few days we still have families on vacation. I do feel like our process this year, we meet weekly now and we go through every enrollment. We're calling parents. I know that right now we have some first graders that have been stalling at one of our campuses. So we're a little bit more actively getting those enrollments, those packets into enrollment there. Well, I think some of them are kindergartners and they're not sure if they're going to bring them this year, or they're going to, wait a year. So they're just stalling a little bit there. And so we try to encourage them. So we either know to count them or not to count them. And that's pretty typical here. It is here. Yeah. Where they might have another year or put in private kindergarten or daycare for a year and then bring them. So we noticed that last year. Okay. And actually, we're doing really fairly well on staffing needs. I think we're down to one special education teacher that we need currently and 2 aides. So we feel much better about that. I was at the legal conference last week and was listening to districts that need 200 staff members, 54 staff members, 30 special ed teachers. So I really felt pretty good about that. We are looking for a journalism and a photography teacher. We don't have that position filled yet, an LVN, and of course, bus monitors, custodians, and student nutrition positions. So I believe that there are 8 custodian positions and 7 student nutrition positions. I think we have all of our bus drivers hired though. I think we have all of our bus drivers hired, so we're looking for some bus monitors there. Any other questions? Okay. Kevin, are you next?
Good evening. I just want to give you a student services update. Our bus registration is closing this evening as of 7/19. So before the weekend, these were our numbers as far as how many students had registered. As you can imagine, those numbers have jumped up a little bit, and now we have each campus has increased anywhere from 19 to 39 students over the past 4 or 5 days, and now we are at 1,228. That was as of about 2 hours ago, so that may have jumped up even more since then. So we'll get that. We'll close registration, start a wait list. We'll start building our routes. And as we build our routes and certain routes can take on more students, we'll start adding students. But this is a good number to start with right now. But we will begin a wait list starting tomorrow morning. Just some beginning of the year stuff that started. Our cheer camps have started for our middle school, JV, and varsity cheer teams. They're getting ready for all of their activities throughout the year, learning their cheers. Cross-country teams are preparing for their return to the state meet this fall. And our marching band is beginning. It is, if you've not been in the band hall over the past, you probably haven't, over the past week or so, it's hopping up there. Those kids are excited. They're the percussion teacher it's fun to watch, and our orchestra teachers are up there. That fine arts area is really it's got a lot of energy in it right now. Football is going to be and volleyball are going to be beginning their practices, which UIL allows them to start on August 31st. So it's we're ramping up, and it's about to be go time. And I know that we have a lot of coaches, a lot of teachers, a lot of directors who are ready for that to begin. Like Ms. Koenig said, we are fully staffed in athletics and fine arts. And I put this on here because they're not here, but I wanted to make sure and give a shout out to our principals and our directors. They did a phenomenal job. If you go and look at other districts surrounding us, they're still struggling to hire folks. And our just the relationships I think that we build, what we have to offer as far as the experience that a teacher or a coach can come in and gain by working in this district is really impressive. And so we have teachers, coaches that want to come here just to be able to get the experience of working with our kids and becoming better coaches. And that's really what they want to do. So all of our coaches that we've hired this summer have been, they're really, we did a really good job of hiring our coaches this year. And that goes to our entire, like I said, our principals and our directors for that. One thing that came in over the weekend that I did not get to put on this presentation as I was creating it last week was I shared with you, I believe back in in June, that our Willow Springs had a submission for their full orchestra. And we got word on July 20th. This is the first year that we've ever had a submission to the Texas State Full Orchestra Competition. We placed in the top 6 as far as we were one of the finalists, and got word over the weekend that we placed 3rd in the state. So if you know Marty Ball and if you know Ashley Dickens, that is the ground floor for them from now on, and anything less than that is not acceptable. So again, that's our Willow Springs Top Orchestra and our Wind Symphony Band. So that's a huge accomplishment for Ashley and for Marty. They do a great job. So thank you.
Good evening again. So tonight, I would just like to give everybody a brief update on a couple areas within our district support services. With only 16 days left prior to the first day of instruction, as you can imagine, our custodial staff, our grounds, our maintenance staff are all just full steam ahead, preparing our campuses, our grounds, just getting everything geared up to welcome back our parents, our students, our teachers, and just the surrounding community. I like to call it we're giving it the mother-in-law's coming to the house this weekend treatment. We know we want to make sure we're doing everything that we can to make our students feel special, to make our teachers feel special whenever they come back into the building. I couldn't go without saying, and Mr. Parker touched on it a little bit, but I'd like to also give a shout out to our campus administration. Our campus administrators, they've got such a difficult position, and they have to wear lots of hats, and a lot of the work that they put in over the summer, you don't see it, you don't hear about it, they just do it. And so I want to give a shout out to them because it's such a critical role that they play in our school district and for our staff and for our families and our kids. But they've been working extremely hard to prepare for those returns. And so the returns of their kiddos and families. And so it's an exciting time of year, but it's even more of an exciting time to be in Lovejoy. And so I look forward to the kickoff of my first school year here in the district. And so anyway, I'm excited about that and hope you guys share that same excitement. Lastly, I would like to invite the Director of Safety and Security, Casey Littlefield, up to the podium. I would like for him to come talk a little bit about our exceptional school marshal program here in the school district.
Good evening. So I first and foremost want to start off by saying that we're in the process right now of hiring our 7th board-approved school marshal, and that individual is going to be taking the role of a school marshal at Sloan Creek Elementary this year. We're going to be making some adjustments and moving our Sloan Creek guy to the high school, and then I will be moving over to the administration LCDC building. So we're excited to get that process over with, and we're looking very much forward to putting that person in position by the start of the school year. So I wanted to just highlight that for a second. Tonight, what I want to do is kind of go over our Lovejoy School Marshal Program highlights and benefits, and I'm certainly not going to be here to compare us to any one specific organization and or group, but I do want you to, as I go through these, to think about what other organizations and school marshal groups within the state are doing as we talk about our highlights and benefits. So I think the first bullet point really says it all for us. The strong student, teacher, and parent connectivity and relationships is really what is most important to us. We feel the connection with our community, and I think it's reciprocal in every single way. So whether you're in the schools talking to students or out in the community talking to parents, there's a strong connectivity with our Marshall program and people that are supporting us. Our school marshals are extremely invested. So we have 4 of our 6 school marshals are starting their 6th year at Lovejoy. So 4 of those 6 have been here from the origination of the school marshal program in 2018. So that's a huge investment. So not only are they invested in the program itself, but they're naturally going to be more invested in the community and the teachers and the people that they serve every day because they've been here for quite some time. We do have a consistent security presence on all campuses. So I will say that that is a huge benefit for our program. We do not have individuals roaming a campus or roving throughout a campus throughout the school day, where you may have an hour spent here and 2 hours spent here. We have someone on site all the time. The security presence is consistent, not only consistent during the school day, but it's consistent throughout the evening into our events. As many of you will see, our school marshals transition straight from their school day operations straight into evening operations. So there's a lot of time spent there. Our school marshals are all qualified marshals, meaning we usually start out at that base foundation of having prior military and or law enforcement experience, which all of us fit that mold. We're very protection and focus driven. I think some organizations are heavy in the response piece of the business. We are very heavy in the proactive, protection focused piece of the business. So I always liken that to, if you think about what the Secret Service does in forms of protection, if you think about what air marshals or sky marshals do on an airplane, we are very much thinking about the prevention, the mitigation, the training, the teaching, and all those things. And then we do have a component in which we're qualified for response, and we'll talk about here in a second. We do have an immediate arm response capability versus some programs that they have that gap time of 2 minutes to 6 minutes to 8 minutes. You never know. So for us to have an immediate arm response capability on all of our campuses is a huge benefit for our program. We have broad district communications capabilities. We can immediately communicate really to anyone that works within our district at any given time. And so that's a huge benefit as well. All of our school marshals are Stop the Bleed certified instructors. So we teach our staff and students Stop the Bleed. We have the medical equipment on site. So that's a huge, huge benefit for us in the program. The significant facility and grounds knowledge, if you were to compare us to other organizations that may come on site for 4 or 5 hours and they're not real familiar with our grounds and our facilities, I can tell you our school marshals are very familiar. They're walking those day in and day out. So we're very comfortable in all of our surroundings on our campuses. We're heavy into emergency planning and drilling, collaboration with our administrators. So I think that's a huge win for us, is that we can sit down with administrators in the planning process. We can actually attend those events and then attend those after action events that happen after drills are done, so that we can consistently get better at what we're doing around drilling with our students. We have implemented high training standards. So we're one of the few school marshal organizations I know that have a physical fitness standard, and we're one of the few that have raised the bar on our shooting standards to a very high level. And so we feel like that's important to have those two components within your organization. We are all active shooter. We train in active shooting. 4 of the 6 of our school marshals are SWAT certified within the state, and we attend trainings that are put on by Alert, which is really the golden standard in active shooter response. The FBI will tell you they're the national standard in in active shooter response alert organization. So we're very fortunate that that's where we get a lot of our training from. And so we can attend any training you can think of that a police officer can get in the state of Texas. We can also get in that training as well. So it's important because we're then able to collaborate and we're able to learn and go off what's really out there today, like real life, what's being implemented today in terms of training. And so we have a high standard in training. We have, again, 4 of the 6 of us have been through SWAT school. We'll be sending 2 more this year. And you may ask yourself, why would you ever need that? And I can just tell you that with that training, it offers a lot of capability to collaborate, to know what other organizations are doing. And it's a very high standard course. And so we're going to do anything we can to have a high standard with our organization. We have extensive event security coverage. So again, you will see us at most events within Lovejoy, and I think that's important. And then lastly, the event planning standards. So we really focus heavily on pre-event strategies, on doing advance work prior to an event occurring. So a lot of behind the scenes things that occur within our school marshal program that I don't think other districts are going to get. We're not simply just showing up and standing there during an event. We're actually ahead of the game, and we're thinking about what ifs and all the things that we could potentially have to deal with. So I think overall, the school marshal program for Lovejoy, again, we get great support, and I feel like we're just going to continue to raise the bar in everything that we do and try to get better and better as we move forward. So with that being said, I think that's all I got. Good.
Thank you. We are excited about the first day of school on Wednesday, August 9th. I know my household could use a little bit more structure at this point in the summer. So I'm excited both professionally and personally. But no, I am just so excited about the start of school, and something that we love in the school business is always the sense of hope and possibility that a new school year brings. You can already feel the excitement that all of the staff is bringing in, even though they're working so hard. They are working so hard because they know what that first day of school means to each and every one of our students and their families, and we want our kids to have the best possible educational experience here with us. And with how much heart and hard work everybody's putting in, I have no doubt that that is going to happen. So we're really looking forward to that. The next 2 weeks will bring a lot of training for our staff to make sure that we have the capacity and the knowledge and skills to best serve our kids. So months and months of planning that went into providing that top level training for all of our staff. And so we're excited to put that into action over the next 2 weeks. We also wanted to share that our families can expect to receive our back to school edition of Connect with Katie at the end of this week. That'll have a lot of details. We, in addition to Connect with Katie, where it'll be all in one place, we are also going to make sure on social media, we're pulling out little bits. Like, for example, you saw today a little back to school reminder about signing up for transportation services. If you haven't done so yet, we think that those things will be good reminders for parents like me who maybe haven't done everything, and then see that reminder out there on social media, and remember to take care of that before school starts. So we look forward to it and cannot wait to see how much all of the students have grown over the summer and to meet all of our new kindergartners.
Thank you, Ms. Cordell. Item 19 is public comments related to non-agenda items. No comments. And item 20, announcements. I just want to make a couple of comments. One on safety and security. Having visited TASB and sat in on multiple security meetings, I wanted to reiterate my appreciation for the proactive nature that we are handling our security program. The fact that we set our own bar. We're not really following anyone in this matter. We are, in my opinion, leading for the most part the state in how we are approaching our security program. And it is apparent as I sit and listen to the conversations on most of my time I spent at SLI was understanding the environment around security and what the circumstances were evolving to in the state, some of the new legislation, which is really a very reactive stance compared to where we've been. We've done things that others are trying to do for several years now, and we are looking so much further ahead what these other folks are doing. It's really an appreciation, and I reiterate these things just to call it to the attention of our educators and our students and our parents. It doesn't prevent anything. It certainly is not a bragging, but it is a deliberate effort to ensure that we put our students, our teachers, our families, and our kids in a place to go and be educated, and to hopefully diminish the concerns we have about things around us in the outside world that may come upon us. And so I wanted to say thank you for that. Secondly I wanted to say thank you to Katie and her team. In her tenure here in Lovejoy, we've gone through a lot of things, and we started at a place where we were at one time, and we've come to a place where we are today. And it's dramatically different. Some of you have been in the throes and have listened and been to board meetings and know what I'm talking about. Others maybe have not, but I can tell you that we're in a position where we're more on our toes than our heels. We are in a position where we have filled most of our vacancies in a time where public education has taken it into teeth almost on a daily basis, not only from a public perception perspective, but also from a funding perspective. And we have created a culture where teachers want to be here. The teachers that want to be here are coming here, and they're doing it because they want the experience, the safety, the opportunity to teach kids in an environment where both the community, the parents, the students, and the teachers are working collectively together towards the same outcome. And so all of that together sets us up for an amazing school year. I haven't set up here whenever I've been able to be in a proactive stance, and I appreciate it. And so I wanted to say thank you for the work that's gone into that. Thank you also to the board surrounding me that's stood by and continued to stay focused on making sure that excellence is always at the center of whatever is going on, regardless of what the adversity might be. So those are things I wanted to reiterate and say thank you to. And with that, we'll be adjourned.